Welcome back, Chief. I rerouted what little power I had into your suit. Whoa, easy there, big guy. You're not...
Status report.
Status report? What? There's something you need to see, Chief. We lost everything. There's nothing left for us here. I don't think we're here is. No. Not then! Not again! We need to run!
No, we need to fight. Get ready.
Valorant. You think you're so cool. You probably think you're the hottest first-person shooter on the block right now, don't you? We all know that's not true. Like, how could you be? You don't even have the star of the greatest first-person shooter ever made. Get Master Chief in there, maybe people will take you seriously. This is coming from someone who is the absolute best at Valorant. Like, ask anyone. They'll all say the same thing. I am the best. What I'm saying is you need Master Chief in this game if you want it to be taken seriously. But you know what, Valorant? I'll throw you a bone. I'll say this for you. Your character art is pretty good. I actually really enjoy it. I like it a lot. So I'm gonna do you a favor, and I'm gonna put Master Chief in this game for you. I'm gonna make it better. So let's go. Let's do it. With learning any style, we need to define what are the identifying characteristics of that style. Like what exactly makes this style look like this style. So we're going to try to come up with a list of a few things that will help guide us along our way. So in order to come up with those things, let's just look at some samples of the style we're trying to learn and see if we can't find any common factors that is used throughout all of these images. I got these images from the artist Ati Gailon, who is a senior illustrator at Riot Games. I got these images from Ati's ArtStation page, so you should definitely go check that out. He's got a lot of other work there too that isn't Valorant. It's also just great. He also shares tutorials and tips. I think his brush pack may be out there too. You could use, but yeah, just go look at it. Just check it out. When looking at these images, I think it's pretty obvious to see in the beginning that there is a lot of bold shapes, flat colors, sharp edges, which really gives it all a very graphic look. Then each character is holding a gun in one hand and then doing something else with the other hand, typically casting a spell or using an ability. Next up, we have a very harsh rim lighting on one side of the character. This is normally white, but I have seen it done in red for some of their darker, moodier pieces, like this one of Viper. It seems they used a hard brush with 100% opacity this entire time. I really think they also used a lot of the lasso tool to get those really sharp edges. You'll see in my painting that I didn't use the lasso tool as much as I should have, and I actually wasted a lot of time on the back end just touching it up with the lasso tool. So just use it from the beginning. And lastly, I want to point out the use of saturated and complementary colors, as well as little to no line work. Unfortunately for Master Chief, his armor is all pretty much the same color, so we'll just have to, try to use saturation where we can. Alright, let's recap everything. We want to create bold shapes, flat brushstrokes, and sharp edges. In order to do this, we use hard edge brush with 100% opacity, as well as the lasso tool. We're going to use saturated colors. Master Chief is going to have a gun in one hand, be using an ability in the other hand, which he doesn't really have any abilities, but we're going to have him priming a plasma grenade. He's gonna have a really sharp rim lighting, and there will be no line work in the final image. So let's get to it. I've already got my sketch here, and I'm laying in my base colors. You don't need a sketch this detailed. In fact, I recommend you don't. It's sort of a waste of time when you're going to paint over everything anyway. But I felt like I needed to do one this detailed because I'm not used to drawing Master Chief's armor, and I just wanted to make sure I got all of the structures and the little tiny bits right. I have the sketch on one layer, and I am painting in my flat colors underneath it on a separate layer. I do this in the beginning for simplicity's sake, with trying to set up the whole image with the lighting and the shading and everything. But later on, we are going to merge all of these into one layer and paint on one layer from there. This will help me just paint out the line work for the final piece. On my other screen, I have all of my references pulled up. I have a lot of images of Master Chief and his armor from different angles, and I've also got a lot of the Valorant character art pulled up as well. I wanted these up at all times just so I can, keep in mind the style that I'm going for and to help me with the details in Master Chief's armor. I had a really dumb idea for the background. I tried to use his silhouette as a framing. I didn't like it. I ended up changing it a few times over the course of this whole image, but I'm pretty happy with the final background as it comes out. Pretty simple look. Now I've got all of my base colors laid in, my simple lights and shadows, and I've merged all of those layers. So now we're really going to start working on painting out all of those lines. I wish I had been using the lasso tool more at this point. I'm just using a hard round brush, which works fine, but it just leaves it messier than it needs to be, and just leaves a lot for me to have to clean up later. Use the lasso tool early. Use it. Okay, so I've painted out all the lines, and now you can see me wasting some time with the background. I hate it in the end anyway, but here it is. I add a little floor reflection there just to give it a little bit of depth. I've just seen that a lot on the Valorant character art. And then I jump right back into rendering out the image even more. Just cleaning it up, refining the details, making it look smooth. Well, let's talk about particle effects real quick. Valorant has this really cool way of showing its particle effects. What I mean by particle effects are these little effects that comes off the player's abilities or their guns or whatever. They look really cool. They're very angular. They use a lot of curves with sharp points in them. They're super stylized. I think it looks fucking great. So I try to do something similar with these little swirls going around the plasma grenade. I use a lot of circular lines and then use an eraser tool to cut pieces of it out, so then I get those sharp edges and a lot of contrasty shapes. This also gives me the opportunity to add a little bit of color variation in here. But there's a lot of room for exploration here. I encourage you to just play around with this type of style and see what you can come up with. All right, let's move on to the final polish. Aside from this stupid background, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. I've done about all the rendering that I'm gonna do, except for little tweaks here and there. So I start messing with the colors just to tweak, just to get exactly like how I want it. I use a lot of curves and color balance here, adjust the levels a little bit. I think I put on a high pass filter. Just any little tweaks that I think I need to make to get to look exactly how I want it to. Unfortunately, I don't have a recording of all of the little things I did. I would really like to show how I changed the background, but I was not recording when I did that. But we'll jump to the final image and you can see what a big difference the background makes. What I'm doing now is just actually brightening up the highlights a little bit. I wanted it to be a little bit more striking, have a little bit more contrast to it. I felt like that would, be more in line with the Valorant style. All right, let's get to the final image now. Let's see how this turned out. And there we go. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.